On a secluded estate in the Scottish Highlands, a dozen men in business suits stand trembling before a belligerent coach. They've each paid tens of thousands of dollars to be here at a week-long boot camp, promising to forge them into titans of industry and alpha leaders. Elsewhere, in a stuffy hotel conference room in London, shy software engineers and lonely expatriates scribble notes as a dating guru drills them on eye contact and assertive body language. These men have shelled out upwards of $3,000 apiece for a 3-day crash course in confidence and seduction. And online, hundreds of thousands of young men log into exclusive forums and Discord servers each day, soaking up lessons on getting rich, attracting women, often under the tutelage of flashy alpha male influencers like Andrew Tate. It's all part of a booming alpha male self-improvement industry, a web of digital communities, pricey seminars, and macho retreats marketed to men seeking to become more dominant, successful, or attractive. What was once an underground subculture of pickup artists and men's movement retreats has exploded into a mainstream phenomenon. Social media algorithms now churn out viral clips of suited gurus extolling wealth and women as measures of manhood. Teenage boys trade tips on Reddit and TikTok about being high-value males, and a global circuit of men-only boot camps and summits has emerged. Some charging eye-watering fees, all promising to unlock participants' inner alpha. And today we are going to try to unpack it all, and I'm going to try to keep my snark to a minimum, but I think y'all like it when I'm a little snarky. So sit back, relax, and take a deep breath. It's time to let the fresh air in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back, or welcome if you're new. My name is Erin, and I am fascinated by all things cults, true crime, and unique spiritual practices. I post one cult deep dive every week and a true crime story every week. So if you're into that sort of thing, please consider subscribing. I would absolutely love to have you here. And before we jump into today's video, I need to thank today's sponsor, Aura. Now, I hate to admit this, but I have been scammed before, and it was over the phone, and I should have seen it coming, but they literally got like $1,200 from me, and it was incredibly, incredibly embarrassing. And what made it even worse was I tried to file a police report, and the cops basically told me there isn't really anything they can do when it comes to scammers. The best thing that can be done is educating yourselves on what these spammers and scammers do to try to steal your identity or fraud you out of money, or if you're ever hacked or scammed or doxxed. It's actually horrifying that there's really no way to track these online predators who are out for all of your personal information that, by the way, is all on your smartphone. And I know for me personally, since I cover problematic people and do call out certain behaviors, sometimes I get anxious that I'm making myself a target. Could somebody be trying to find me? Could someone be lurking online looking for my information? But the thing that keeps my anxiety at bay is Aura. Aura makes me feel so incredibly safe because Aura takes care of the hard part, which is automatically removing your info from the sites that these data brokers try to sell your personal information on. They will alert you every single time they see your personal information on one of these sites, and then they will wipe it automatically. There are a lot of services that offer this too, but none of them offer as many features as Aura does for the exact same price. And you get alerts if any of your personal information is found anywhere on the dark web. It's shocking that the dark web exists to me because I'm like, how do you even find it? Can't people track your activity on the dark web? But there are people just waiting to steal identities and cash in. I mean, I've heard of stories of people's credit, their entire lives getting totally and completely ruined because of fraudsters online. With Aura, you're also going to get real-time fraud alerts for your credit card and your banking. And you're going to have 24/7 monitoring to keep your identity safe. And not only that, it offers a secure VPN, antivirus, password manager, and it also has US based support available around the clock if something does go wrong. And if anything does happen, Aura includes $5 million in identity theft insurance protection. What I always say is that Aura is full spectrum protection, whether it's your data being leaked, you wanting to protect your server with a VPN, whether you want parental controls and monitoring to keep your children safe online. Aura does it all. So if you're curious and you want to try yourself, you can try Aura for free for 14 days at aura.com/letthefresherin. In those 2 weeks, Aura will get to work scrubbing your personal information off these data broker sites. I am not leaving myself vulnerable, and you shouldn't either. You can go to my sponsor, https://aura.com/letthefresherin to try 14 days for free. And that's enough time for Aura to start scrubbing your personal info off these data broker sites without you having to lift a finger. Be sure to check out the link down in my description box below for easy access. Make sure you protect yourself and your family with Aura today. And thank you so much to Aura for sponsoring today's video. Now, not long ago, the notion of the alpha male was confined to obscure corners of the internet and pop psychology paperbacks. Or, to describe animals in the wild. But today it's a pervasive meme and aspirational identity for countless men. At its core, alpha male culture represents a vision of hypermasculinity, competitive, dominant, financially successful, and sexually charismatic. This vision is aggressively promoted by a new breed of online influencers and communities that have brought what's often called the manosphere into the mainstream. Now, at the forefront stands a man who I think we're all sick of hearing about, and that is Andrew Tate, a British American social media personality and former kickboxer who has styled himself as the epitome of the modern alpha male. Tate's brand is built on bravado, machismo, and wealth. In countless videos, he lounges with fast cars, cigar in hand, surrounded by bikini clad women, all protecting the image of a man who has effectively won at capitalism and patriarchy. If you want to deep dive into him, I made one recently. It's going to make you uncomfortable, but if you'd like to learn more, it's right here. His content bluntly instructs men to get rich, get fit, and control women so that they can be high value men. While banned from many platforms for hate speech and misogyny, Tate's audience has only grown via alternative channels. By late 2023, he described himself as a mega brand with millions of followers and purported wealth in the hundreds of millions. Tate is far from alone, though. The Real Social Dynamics, or RSD crew, were early pioneers in commodifying the alpha male ethos. Founded in the early 2000s by Owen Tyler Cook and partners, RSD became, in their words, the international leader in dating advice, but it was essentially a professional pickup artist academy. Cook and the infamous Julian Blanc gained notoriety for teaching men manipulative seduction techniques to assert power in sexual encounters. Julian Blanc, for instance, promised clients he'd show them how to make girls beg to sleep with you through panty dropping masculine dominance, even if it means skirting consent. By 2014, Blank's antics, such as videos of him grabbing women by the throat, sparked global outrage. He was banned from the UK, Australia, and other countries amid accusations that he promoted sexual. RSD in similar outfits nonetheless cultivated a huge following of men seeking a competitive edge in the mating game. Other influencers straddled the worlds of dating, lifestyle, and reactionary politics. Dan Bilzerian, though not a coach, became an Instagram celebrity by flaunting a Playboy lifestyle of yachts and models, a flash man archetype often cited by the new alpha gurus as proof that women only want wealthy, womanizing men. Yeah, when me and my girlfriends are out for drinks, we are always just like so excited to look for those womanizing men. That's exactly what we want. Wrong. We don't. And if you're a man watching this and you're slowly getting heated because you consider yourself an alpha male and you're angry that I, a woman, is sitting with a podcast microphone and essentially calling you out, here's the thing. As a woman, we just want to be heard and understood and respected and supported. And we want to embrace our autonomy. In general, I'm pretty sure across the board, you are not going to find a woman who wants you to borderline aggressively pursue her to the point that consent is no longer the option. That's not what women want. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Now I want to remind you of a name, Kevin Samuels, a YouTuber and self-styled image consultant who drew millions of viewers until his 2022 passing with blunt lectures on gender roles and success. He frequently told men to improve their earning power and told women to be more submissive if they wanted, quote, high-value partners. On the more academic side, if you can call it that, Jordan Peterson, a Canadian psychologist, inadvertently became a hero to disaffected young men by acknowledging their struggles and urging a return to order and responsibility with his catchphrase, clean your room. Like Tate, Peterson speaks to what he calls the plight of young men who feel like they've been left behind. However, Peterson's approach emphasizes personal discipline and meaning, whereas Tate and his ilk promise that you can be like me, wealthy, ripped, and surrounded by admirers, but only if you embrace their specific alpha male blueprint. Now, beneath these personalities lies a loose but fervent network of online subcultures collectively known as the manosphere. This includes pickup artists, communities, incel forums, MGTOW, or men going their own way, which are anti relationship groups, and of course, red pill groups, which is a term taken from the Matrix denoting men who believe that they've awakened to the feminist lies. We all know that feminism is just simply the belief that men and women deserve equal treatment in society and equal pay. It's not necessarily a I hate men movement. It's not. There's nuance to everything. There's extremes in every category, but the word feminism, feminist, just means look, I want to be treated equal. I want to make the same amount of money for the same amount of work, and I want to be respected. What's so bad about that? The common thread is a belief that modern men are somehow being deprived of their rightful status and options, and that by following a set of contrarian, often reactionary principles, men can reclaim power in their lives. Andrew Tate slots neatly into this continuum. As one analysis by Cosmopolitan put it, Tate is nothing new. He slots into a long line of men, with content promising self improvement and a community where men feeling confused or angry can vent and receive the validation that they don't feel they can find elsewhere. And I just want to take a moment to say that I personally believe that this is also a part of what being in a patriarchal and capitalistic society does. It's kind of a symptom of a larger problem, which is the pushback of feminism and inherent patriarchy. There is internalized misogyny in probably all of us. Just like if you are a white person living in America today, there's going to be internalized racism that you have to start recognizing, and you'll start seeing more and more and more the more you decide to learn about other people's experiences. I think a big reason why the manosphere has become so viral is because of that internalized misogyny that we, on a large scale in general, kind of have. And we have to break down both internally and societally. Men are still told from a very young age that they're not allowed to have big feelings, and that if they cry, they're weak, and if they express themselves, they're not so manly. But whenever I hear about a straight woman seeking a male partner, all she wants is them to express themselves. It is attractive to meet a man who is in touch with their emotions. And I think it takes a more self aware and, quote, elevated man to recognize that they are allowed to have feelings and should be in therapy and should be trying to understand themselves on an emotional level. Because at the end of the day, we're all human. We all experience emotions, and some of those emotions are definitely not as fun as others. But women were a little bit more allowed to explore those feelings, but then we're labeled as emotional. So men hear that and they're like, well, I'm not allowed to have emotions. I'm not allowed to cry. I'm not allowed to feel sad or depressed or anxious or worried. And it seems to manifest into this toxic masculinity where these men are all trying to pretend to be something that they're not because they're so afraid of feeling and being considered weak. All of that to say is, I do believe that there need to be more resources, especially for younger men, where there is a safe space to explore and understand their own feelings because we don't want them to manifest in certain ways. I think a lot of men forget that things like anger are also a feeling. And I think that when other emotions like fear, abandonment, shame, pain, sadness, I think when those are suppressed and aren't allowed to be explored and processed, they manifest in these intense, angry ways that can and have led to not just people getting involved in the manosphere, but people hurting the woman they love or somebody else because there's nowhere for them to channel that feeling. And and I'm going on a bit of a rant now, but I don't want this video to be misunderstood or me to be misunderstood as some type of man hater where these men need to get it together. No, I think that we need to, from a very young age, let boys and young men get more in touch in and with their feelings. I think that's a big piece of the puzzle that is missing here. So when these men who kind of feel disenfranchised, they don't have luck with women, they might not have very many friends, they don't know how to process their feelings, they might be getting into fights or have anger issues. When they find a community of like-minded men online, they're going to get more and more engulfed in it. They're going to allow themselves to get more pulled into it. And I think that this is really speaking to a larger issue. But it doesn't mean that a lot of the rhetoric that people like Andrew Tate spout isn't absolutely disgusting. Now, the rapid ascent of alpha male culture is inseparable from the viral power of modern day digital platforms. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Reddit have become the breeding grounds and echo chambers for these ideas. YouTube hosts countless channels in the alpha male or red pill genre, ranging from slick podcasts to solo rants filmed in sports cars. The Fresh and Fit podcast, for example, streams live from Miami with young male hosts berating female guests and extolling male dominance, regularly drawing hundreds of thousands of views.
I'll take a girl that's a brokey that won't embarrass me over a girl that is wealthy but on any day because my status is decreased by what my woman does.
When you're with a guy of value, you got to understand that he has the leverage, not you. You're applying to be his girlfriend. My way or the highway, baby, because at the end of the day, when you can replace a girl, that's when she respects you. It's on the woman to prove to me that she's worthy of a relationship. That's where a lot of girls make a mistake. They'll sit there and say, I'm good, I'm loyal, blah, 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 blah. I want to, see how you do before you get promoted. I'm not going to give a girl the position of secretary or underboss, right?
She would just be silent, lose some weight,
I
and
do
be
do
educated.
that. I do that. I
So
fucking
instead of-
study and
so
I do what I need to do.
No, you didn't study.
Excuse me?
studied.
No, I
Niche creators like Rollo Tomassi, author of The Rational Male, and Richard Cooper, the guy from the Entrepreneurs and Cars channel, produce hours of content dissecting women's behavior and advising men to prioritize status and sexual strategy above all. The thing is, no one can be generalized. Every single woman you meet is different from the last. The things that we're attracted to is different. The things we're interested in is different. The type of men we're in is different. The dynamic of the relationship is different. Me and my best friend have very, very, very different points of views on what our role in our relationships are. I want everything financially to be a 50-50 split. I want to feel equal. She really likes not having to have a job and having a husband who takes care of her, and she predominantly takes care of the home, and they are also child-free. That's her prerogative, and I support it because she chose it. She wasn't scammed into it because she found an alpha male who demanded she submit. She just has decided this is a lifestyle that I prefer. But she also does work part-time jobs, so there's always going to be a balance. Every single woman wants something different, just like every man wants something different. You can't lump us all into the same category as high value or not. At the end of the day, we're human beings. But that's the key thing that's missing here. Because as people start subscribing to the manosphere, they really believe that they can learn to become an alpha man. At its peak, Andrew Tate's Hustlers University had around 100,000 subscribers who were each paying almost $50 per month for access to basically him and his advice. So I've said a lot and I've shared a lot of my own personal opinions so far, which I normally don't do until like the end of the video. But if you can't tell, I'm kind of passionate about society and the roles that we play. And I'm a big, big fan of equality. I believe that as long as you are not harming yourself or anybody else, you get to do whatever you want with your life. You get to live however you want, and you reserve the right to the respect from everybody around you. It doesn't matter who you are, your race, your gender, how you identify. None of that matters to me as long as you're a kind and respectful person. And I believe that everybody deserves that equality. But sociologically and psychologically, I want to understand and share what explains this surging appeal of the alpha male narrative, particularly among young men. Now, psychologists and sociologists suggest a confluence of factors: economic insecurity, shifting gender norms, and a widespread feeling of male dislocation in the 21st century. After years of hearing about toxic masculinity in public discourse, some men, especially younger ones, might feel unfairly maligned or lost. Quote, "We are in the middle of a referendum on what it means to be a man," unquote. This is what journalist Freddie Feltham observed, who spent a year interviewing Tate's followers. He notes that many young men sense that the world is telling them what masculinity is without bothering to ask them or listen to their thoughts. So, in that void, charismatic figures like Tate step in and they claim to be a champion for men's interests. One major draw is that these influencers acknowledge male pain and frustration that many men feel that society as a whole ignores. Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson, despite vastly different styles, both speak to young men's grievances about a plight of their generation. For instance, young men today face higher rates of isolation, suicide, and educational underachievement relative to young women. They also confront a dating landscape transformed by online apps and evolving expectations, which can be bewildering or demoralizing for those who don't feel adept socially or financially. So rather than sensitively unpack some of these systemic issues, Alpha male gurus often offer a single villain narrative. It's feminism's fault. As one analysis from Monash University's School of Social Science explains, Tate's appeal lies in his skillful manipulation of genuine issues, like economic hardship among young men, and framing them as consequences of feminist gains. Tate tells his followers that the world is unfair not because of complex economic forces, but because men have been dethroned by gender equality movements. By weaponizing economic anxiety and blaming women's empowerment for men's struggles, he validates his audience's frustrations while directing their anger at a convenient target. He creates an us versus them mentality, just like cult leaders before him. Now, in this narrative, women, especially feminists, become the enemy of men's well being. And the remedy offered is a reactionary return to traditional gender hierarchies. Tate explicitly preaches that men should reclaim their rightful place atop the social order, a call to reestablish patriarchy as the solution to modern problems. In effect, as the Monash scholars argue, Tate is not rebelling against an oppressive system. He's an embodiment of patriarchy, a latest patriarchy driven ideological entrepreneur repackaging old ideas for a new generation. The term toxic masculinity often comes up in these debates. Critics of feminism claim that phrases like that alienate men, but experts clarify that toxic masculinity refers not to all masculinity, but to a specific set of harmful behaviors and norms like aggression, emotional repression, the pursuit of dominance at all costs. These are the things that hurt men and women alike, according to this study. But unfortunately, figures like Tate deliberately misrepresent the term as an attack on men, thereby fueling a sense of victimhood among boys and men and justifying their resentment. Another undercurrent is the desire for guidance and ritual that society may not be providing to young men. In decades past, institutions like the military, religious organizations, or even defined career paths offered structure or rites of passage into manhood. Today, many traditional structures have weakened. Father figures might be absent, communities frayed, and ideals of masculinity are in flux. The alpha male influencers step in as de facto life coaches, offering a clear, if oversimplified, script on how to be a man, get jacked, make money, and sleep with women. Oh, and also never show weakness. It's a message that resonates on a visceral level with those who feel adrift. One 19-year-old fan of Tate put it bluntly: following Tate's advice gave him discipline and kept him out of trouble, and becoming financially successful made you a high-value man. Anything less is failure. For a teenager with few other mentors, that formula, however crude, provides a sense of direction and self-worth. So now let's jump into the business of male self-improvement. I'm talking about the boot camps, the retreats, and those big promises.
I don't want to let you fall. Turn around. You don't want to let you know where I went for this. Right over here. Right. You got this. You got it. Just help the We got you.
Motherfucker. 5 Southern California weather. Told your family I'm going to sunny Southern California. Look what happened.
Fuck the people in your life that don't need to be there. Even if it's your father or your mother. Fuck them. You don't need them. You got us. You don't fucking need them anymore. Turn around. Red. You could have been dry. Turn around. You don't want to let your phone. I don't give 2 fucks.
T-shirt views. Fucking pussies. That's a fucking t-shirt view. Take your shit off. Take your shit off. Take your fucking shit off. Take your shit off. Take your shit off. Come on. I'll go home. You and I go home. I'll never come back here again. Come on.
Why are you a disappointment? I want to know. Stop wasting my fucking time or quit. Did you hear me today when I talked about expose your goddamn fear? Expose that shit. Hold yourself accountable. stop fighting. When you start fighting, I'll stop dragging you to the bottom of the hill. Son of a bitch! Hold me straight, motherfucker! He's wiggling me left and right! You know he likes holding.
I've been walking on the railroad all the live long day.
Sit down right here. You two are gonna share this fucking cookie. All of you start crawling.
75 hours these guys have been going. This is the last and final here. We are attacking. 30 men started the project. 18 of them remain. These are the graduates attacking the last and final hill. So proud of these guys. Ho, ho, ho. Class 15! You don't fucking deserve to be here. Fucking quit. You piece of shit. I want to be a better man. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better father. I want to be a better, you fucking whiny piece of shit.
I'm sharing that fucking cookie. Go. Eat the fucking cookie. Eat the fucking cookie. All right, you suffer till you eat till you finish the fucking cookie. Cool. Yeah, just sit there. Just sit there.
I've never experienced it. It's something like that. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Some things are little. Yeah. That's what we do. It's fucking all out.
The bitch and the beast. The bitch is the inner critic. The beast is the advocate. The advocate supports you, roots you on, cheers for you. But the critic, your inner bitch, is always doubting you and telling you that you can't and that you've done enough, and to set lower goals and expectations of yourself. When I go into the gym every morning, I go to war with my body, I go to war with the weights, I go to war with my mindset, with that bitch voice in my head that says, put the weights down, you've done enough sets and reps. And I know you're like, damn, bro, that sounds intense. Yes, be intense.
Here's five. Here's five. Here's five. Are you touching me? Are you touching me? Are you touching me? Get the fuck off of me. Get the fuck off of me.
I'm not
you little
touching
bitch. I'm not touching fucking bitch. All of you get in the fucking tub. Get in the tub. Every one of you.
So, if the idea of the alpha male is flourishing, so too is the business built around it. The global personal development industry, which includes self-improvement books, seminars, coaching, and retreats for all genders, was estimated to be a market worth $48 billion in 2024 and is projected to reach over $67 billion by 2030. Within that giant sector, male-focused self-improvement has carved out a lucrative and growing niche. Men's self-improvement retreats and workshops now exist at virtually every price point, from modest local meetups to ultra-luxury boot camps. But it's the high end of the spectrum, expensive immersive retreats, that has drawn intense interest and controversy. In the US and globally, a number of exclusive men-only programs have emerged, promising transformative results. Some are positioned as dating or social skills training, others as leadership and wealth-building summits, and others as quasi-spiritual journeys into true manhood. Many borrow military or warrior imagery. It's a boot camp, it's an academy, it's an initiation, it's a brotherhood, all to convey, toughness and exclusivity. The most expensive alpha male experiences can cost up to 5 figures, rivaling a luxury vacation or a year of college tuition. Dan Pena's $25,000 castle seminar and Andrew Tate's $8,000 war room membership are extreme cases, both marketed as once-in-a-lifetime opportunities to join an exclusive club of winners. The high price tags themselves are spun as a feature. They signal that these programs are only for the most serious and dedicated, as well as those willing to empty their savings. In a way, paying a fortune becomes a form of hazing or initiation, a demonstration of commitment to the cause of self-empowerment. One Reddit commenter sardonically imagined a participant's mindset at an $18,000 alpha male boot camp. Here's my check for $18,000. Please tell me I have balls. The sarcasm aside, it captures how some men will go to great lengths, even financial jeopardy, to validate their masculinity. So, what do customers actually get for these hefty fees? In many cases, they get a mix of motivational coaching, practical exercises, and symbolic ritual. along with the intangible benefit of belonging to a fraternity of men on a similar journey. Oh, yeah, and some other fragile masculine man just screams at them all day long for not being man enough. Take, for example, the Love Systems Pickup Artist Boot Camp attended by a journalist for Shortlist magazine. For about $3,000, the attendees, 5 men from varied backgrounds, spent 3 days learning a step-by-step system to approach women, then hitting real bars each night to practice under their instructor's supervision. Can you imagine just like being a girl with your girlfriends going out and like you have these men using it's already weird enough, the tactics men use, but now that there's a training program makes it even weirder. And the thing is, the clients weren't slick player stereotypes, but rather ordinary guys. An engineer, a shy Welshman with social anxiety, a Frenchman, a man on the autism spectrum, all seeking to gain romantic confidence, and all basically being berated constantly and told that they're not good enough unless they can attract a woman. My fear is not just from the female gaze and saying this is a terrible way to treat women, which it is. But it's also very, very toxic to continue instilling in men that they are never going to be enough until they play up to an alpha male stereotype. And I'm sorry, but I have never in my life found the typical alpha male stereotype to be attractive in any way. I want the shy guy. I think that's cute and endearing. I want the one that isn't approaching all the girls because what's he going to do when he's with me? Probably still go out there approaching women because that must be where he gets his value. I love the fact that my husband didn't know how to talk to me at first because he was nervous. I think that's the cutest thing in the world. I love a shy man. I think it's super, super sweet and endearing. But these men's fears and motivations were poignantly relatable. One exercise had them write down what they feared would happen if they didn't overcome their anxieties. A 39-year-old participant simply wrote, "Die alone." For these men, the boot camp wasn't about learning to dominate women. It was a last resort to learn how to hold a basic conversation and form a connection. And this underscores a very important point. While the marketing of these programs often trumpet, become a powerful alpha who gets what he wants, the reality is that many attendees are vulnerable men struggling with loneliness or low self esteem, desperately hoping for a solution. The program capitalizes on those hopes. These programs exploit the vulnerabilities of these men. They are toxic and they are inherently culty in nature. These are people who are preying upon vulnerable men and demanding a high price tag for an untested solution to their problem. And if you don't do it the alpha male's way, you will never be successful. And the thing is, these retreats are not successful. Whether it's someone paying 5 figures so they can attend an event to get toughened up and screamed at, or if there's a bigger collapse. For instance, the 21 convention saw its attendance dwindle after 15 plus years, reportedly leading to financial strains. A Reddit analysis dubbed the rise and fall of the 21 convention noted that by the late 2010s, internal conflicts and perhaps market saturation caused the event to shrink, and it even took on a combative anti-feminist tone that alienated some early supporters. So what actually happens inside these expensive-ass retreats? Behind those glossy brochures and testosterone-fueled marketing, what actually happens? While each program has its own unique flavor, many follow a predictable structure combining classroom-style teaching, physical or social exercises, and curated bonding experience. A typical day often starts with lectures or mindset sessions in a hotel conference room. Here, coaches present theories on male and female dynamics, which is a lot of pseudoscience mixed with personal anecdotes. And students might learn about the alpha body language, or, for example, maintaining an open posture, steady eye contact, firm handshakes, or practical vocal exercises to speak more assertively. There are usually modules on fashion and grooming as well, the look the part aspect of being high status. And afternoons might involve role playing drills. One man pretends to approach others as if in a bar, and coaches interrupt to adjust his posture or his opening line. After a dinner break, the real test comes, the infield practice. The group dressed in their sharpest clothes goes with the coach to a nightlife venue. Each student must approach a number of women and try to initiate conversations, applying the day's lessons. The coach observes, sometimes literally peering from a distance or even wearing an earpiece to whisper real-time advice. It's high pressure and often awkward, but that's the point. By forcing repeated exposure to rejection and fear, the boot camp aims to desensitize the men and imbue them with a new boldness. As one participant in the shortlist observed boot camp said on day 2, I've already done more approaching in one night than in the past 5 years of my life. And success is usually measured not in phone numbers gathered, but in the personal breakthrough of overcoming anxiety. At luxury retreats or summits, the itinerary skews more towards seminars and networking. For example, Dan Pena's Castle seminar, mornings might involve group weightlifting or cold shower routine to build discipline, followed by 10 plus hours in the castle's presentation hall, where Pena and occasional guest speakers rant about business strategy and high performance mindset. Evenings feature formal dinners and black tie, which serve as both a reward and another training in etiquette and confidence. Participants are often subjected to surprise challenges, like giving an impromptu speech or confronting a peer about a perceived weakness to simulate high stress business scenarios. By week's end, attendees often describe feeling broken down and rebuilt. That's exactly what every cult does in order to keep you involved. They break you down so that they can be the ones to build you back. And then subconsciously, you just start relying on them. You start thanking them for your growth instead of thanking yourself. One consistent element is the creation of an intense emotional atmosphere. These experiences are engineered to be highs and lows, not a casual workshop. It's common for men to report breaking into tears during a pivotal exercise, even in the hyper macho settings. Many programs intentionally push buttons to trigger suppressed emotions like guilt, fear, anger, and grief. In the Mankind Project's NWTA, for instance, there's a segment where the men sit in a circle one by one and loudly express deep-seated feelings. It could be rage at an abusive father, shame over a personal failure, or sorrow at a loss, while others bear witness. It's cathartic and is often described as rebirthing, but it's also another toxic cult tactic. When you share your vulnerability in a group scenario, there's this false sense of trust within the group, especially if you're doing it with strangers. Expecting people to share some of their deepest, darkest feelings, concerns, secrets, it's a dangerous situation to put yourself in because you're providing the leader with collateral which they can use at a later time if you ever resist their teachings. In a more manipulative vein, some pickup artist boot camps would systematically tear down a client's ego, like harshly critiquing him and marking his insecurities in front of the group, and then later build him back up with praise once he complies with the coach's model of alpha behavior. This mirrors techniques that are seen in military boot camps and even cult indoctrinations. Break the individual, then refashion their identity with the desired values. I couldn't make this video without talking about the ethical red flags within the program's content. Teaching assertiveness and confidence is one thing, but teaching manipulation or misogyny crosses into harmful territory. RSD Julian Blanc infamously had a video demonstrating grabbing a woman's head and pulling it to his crotch as a technique, an act that most I think would label SA. Some old pickup artist materials from other companies advised men to persist through a woman's last-minute resistance to sex by using pressure tactics, essentially normalizing coercion. These practices have been widely condemned by experts as promoting rape culture. The companies often backtrack in the face of backlash, but the fact remains that such content was still part of the curriculum people paid for. And I think it goes without mentioning the harm it does to the individual who is attending the boot camps and getting screamed at, berated, and forced to sometimes hurt themselves to prove that they're a high value alpha male. If you think about it in the wild, an alpha male wolf is not just running around and banging all the women wolves and then leaving them out as if they're nothing. They literally have their pack, and when they travel, they walk in the back of the line so that they can help support the pregnant wolves, the elder wolves. They are the last one behind everyone because they're ensuring everybody else gets to safety. That's how the alpha operates. It's not all pounding on your chest and fighting for glory because another male may be trying to claim your territory. The spinning of what a true alpha male is so damaging. The idea that an alpha male has to be someone who manipulates women and treats them terribly and just makes a ton of money and these are all superficial damaging things. Human beings want to connect to other human beings. That's really it. It's simple. Maybe you're not good at dating simply because you haven't felt an honest connection with anybody else. When I think of the people, whether they're platonic relationships or romantic ones, there's always a spark. It doesn't have to be forced. And it was always those relationships that felt like I had to play a part that ended up being toxic and not healthy. Why would you want to turn yourself into the human form of toxicity to try to attract a woman when it's very, very clear that most women aren't even attracted to that? Many professionals in psychology have been observing the alpha male trend with a mix of concern and empathy. On one hand, they acknowledge the legitimacy of the problems drawing men to these groups, issues like lack of positive role models, economic disenfranchisement, social isolation, and confusion over these changing gender norms. But on the other hand, they warn that the solutions offered by alpha male influencers are often oversimplified at best and toxic at worst. The American Psychological Association, or APA, in recent years has highlighted how rigid extreme masculine norms can actually harm men's mental health. Traits like suppressing emotions, constant aggression, and entitlement, which some alpha programs encourage as real man behavior, are linked to higher rates of problems such as depression, substance abuse, and relationship difficulties in men. When boys are told that seeking help is weak or that showing empathy makes them beta, they may avoid therapy or open communication, potentially exacerbating mental crises. Ironically, while alpha influencers claim to be champions for men, their ethos of invulnerability can actually make it harder for men to acknowledge pain or ask for help. Psychologists like Dr. Michael Kimmel, a masculinity studies expert and author of Angry White Men, have noticed that many young men feel a sense of aggrieved entitlement. They were raised to expect a certain future: good job, pretty wife, respect, etc. And when it doesn't materialize, they become angry and drawn to ideologies that explain their predicament as someone else's fault instead of them having to, you know, look within and recognize how maybe they could be treating women better. The alpha male narrative feeds directly into this by telling men that they are entitled to status and sex if they just reassert dominance. It externalizes blame that it's women's liberation or society's anti male bias that keeps getting them down rather than encouraging introspection or adaptation. And academics have started to pay serious attention to the manosphere. There are now journal articles and even whole books on it. Research by the Institution for Strategic Dialogue and others map how innocuous entry points like fitness or self improvement forums can lead young men toward more extreme communities that espouse racism or outright misogyny. They describe a kind of radicalization pipeline. A teen might watch a benign how to be confident video, then YouTube's algorithm suggests a more strident women don't like nice guys video, and eventually he's watching content by openly misogynistic or alt-right figures. The sense of community and jargon can create a subcultural identity that gets really hard to break out of. It becomes part of how these men see the world and themselves. Feminist and gender scholars critique the movement for perpetuating patriarchal power dynamics under the guise of self-help. They argue that selling dominance as a solution for men not only harms women through encouraging objectification and inequality, but also harms men by locking them into a narrow definition of success. As one commentator put it, Tate's masculinity is steeped in pessimism, the idea that without people like him, things can only get worse. He teaches men to be ruled by insecurity, to control everyone and everything, unquote. That's not a recipe for happiness or healthy relationships. It's a path to perpetual anxiety, because an alpha must constantly prove and reprove himself. There's always a risk of slipping, making a mistake, losing a job, getting rejected, and thus being demoted in this imaginary hierarchy. Living under that pressure can be mentally exhausting and fragile. Sociologist Michael Mesner analyzed the earlier men's movement and noted that its advocates distinguished between deep, mature masculinity and toxic masculinity of immature males. The mythopoetic folks believed men needed more emotional expression and communal bonding to become better men, whereas today's alpha gurus often position emotional expression and gender equality as the problems. It's like two polar responses to the same crisis. One group said men have lost their way because they aren't in touch with their feelings and each other, and the other says men have lost their way because they've become weak and let women and society feminize them. Each is diagnosing a loss of masculinity, but with opposite remedies. Psychologists point out that movements like this often thrive by offering clear, black and white answers to very complex personal troubles. It's much easier to believe that women only date jerks, so I must become a jerk to succeed, than to grapple with the messy reality that attraction and social skills are complex, and one might need to build self-esteem over time. Likewise, being told, make a lot of money and your problems are solved, is a straightforward goal, whereas addressing one's loneliness or lack of purpose might involve vulnerability, trial and error, and facing uncomfortable truths about oneself. The Alpha doctrine is seductive in its clarity. Be X, do Y, get Z. However, life rarely works in such formulas, and many men become disillusioned when these prescriptions don't deliver as promised. Some bounce between different manosphere ideologies, say from pickup artistry to an incel forum, and go in a downward spiral of failed expectations and growing resentment. Others eventually realize the shortcomings of the philosophy. There are online communities of red pill refugees where former adherents share how they left after recognizing the toll it took on their psyche or on their relationships. Often it's when they encounter evidence that contradicts the dogma, like they see a respectful, non-alpha man in a happy, healthy relationship, or a woman who doesn't fit the negative stereotypes. It's that cognitive dissonance that sets in. Now, one thing has been made very clear. The alpha male culture is not just an isolated fad, but it's part of a larger conversation and conflict about manhood in the 21st century. From the expensive mountaintop retreats to the algorithm-driven echo chambers online, it reflects real yearnings among men for respect, for guidance, for camaraderie, but channels them in ways that can be double-edged. Society at large, including women and older generations, ignore these undercurrents at its peril. As with any populist wave, understanding and addressing the root causes is more effective than just condemning the surface behaviors. Ultimately, the goal should be to help people become their best selves without turning that quest into a zero-sum gender game or a commodified trap. There are indeed certain aspects of what some might call traditional masculinity, like integrity, courage, resilience, that can be positive forces, just as there are new traits like empathy, adaptability, partnership, understanding, that modern men are embracing more than their forebears. A healthy approach to male self-improvement would meld the best of both, guided by evidence and empathy, not by caricatures of alphas versus betas. Whether the current alpha male industry can evolve in that direction or whether it will collapse under its own extremities remains to be seen. For now, it's a phenomenon that is making noise and money, and it cannot be ignored by anyone concerned with where masculinity is headed next. Now, I am so curious to hear what you all think down in the comments below. I just don't understand why alpha male has been transformed into this really like awful, terrible version of a man to me. I feel like every single person I meet who considers himself an alpha male, I'm just like, you are not a good person, dude. It's so strange. And like, it's hard because on one hand, it's like, I want to make fun. And then on the other hand, I'm like, man, these are people who are probably hurting in some way. But they say hurt people, but that does not excuse the behavior. So please let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something. And once again, I'd like to say thank you to the sponsor, Ara. Remember to check out that link down in the description box below. Remember, guys, stay safe out there, ask questions, and always stay skeptical. I'll see you in my next video soon. Bye.